Things have quieted down after our historic winter storm near the Gulf Coast and the Southeast, but things are getting ready to get back to active and reload with the weather pattern as we go into late January, but especially the first week of February. And we're going to be walking you through the weather pattern right here on this channel. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel, follow along with all of my detailed, accurate weather breakdowns. Make sure to like the video, give it a thumbs up, and share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I definitely appreciate it. Let's look here at our pattern as we go through the rest of this month. The rest of January, you can see the departure of our Arctic air. The big deep blues here across eastern Canada and the Northeast are on their way out. That is our tropospheric polar vortex, the stretching of that. And notice we have a ridge of high pressure. Typically, you do see these after the departure of some very cold air. We had all that cold air sinking all the way south to the Gulf of Mexico. And notice out here in Southern California, kind of a cutoff low pressure system that could bring some interesting weather there in the form of precipitation. That definitely will be helping the wildfire concerns. I know east of San Diego, there's a major wildfire that just literally started a few hours ago. Let's look here at our temperature anomalies as we go through the rest here of this week and into the weekend. Notice today the Arctic air here is across the central eastern U.S. That will be moving east as we go into Friday. So we had another plunge of Arctic air today. That moves east tomorrow. Notice the moderating temperatures, though, in the plains and the upper Midwest here as we go into Friday, but more so this weekend here, Saturday, and then into Sunday. But there still is blue on the map, so we're still going to be seeing chillier air out there, just not like really cold air like what we just got over with here over the past couple of days. Let's look at the precipitation as we round out the week and going into the weekend. And notice we got Great Lake effect snow up here across portions of Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, Huron, Ontario. A lot of the Great Lakes seeing lake effect snow, and that will continue as we go through tonight here. You can see those lake effect snow bands still going pretty strong up there. So if you're in and around the Great Lakes region, just be mindful that the travel may become difficult, especially in those heavier bands of lake effect snow. And a lot of those could be affecting western New York State and then downwind of Lake Michigan and western lower Michigan and the UP of Michigan. The upper peninsula region, we definitely could be seeing some heavier snows there as well. That'll continue as we go into Friday. And then we have a clipper system that could bring some surprise snows to places like Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and northern parts of the United States like the Dakotas, northern Minnesota on Friday, and then into Saturday here where that will kind of move over across the upper Great Lakes region, and then that'll move across southeastern Canada for the most part. But that could bring some upstate New York snowfall as we go into Sunday into Vermont, New Hampshire, northern Maine. Something to keep an eye on there as we go through the weekend. And in fact, we're going to be seeing some of that moisture, like I said, turn into snow, and across the Great Lakes could be seeing several more inches of snowfall on the order of about 8 to 12 inches, especially here in western New York State up toward Watertown, New York, with the heavier snow bands associated with lake effect snow. Some mountainous snow out here across the Rockies, Montana, south to Colorado. And then we look here at the state of drought, okay? We're seeing a lot of drought across the desert Southwest. Yes, it's a desert, I get it's dry, but let's look here at the oranges and reds. That's severe and extreme drought really building in Southern California, and it's not doing any favors for the wildfires out there whatsoever. Let's take a hike over here into southwestern portions of the United States and more so Southern California and look at the weather pattern, because we're actually going to start to see some moisture, not today or tonight, not on Friday, not on Saturday really for the most part, but Saturday night I think is really when we're going to start to see moisture return for the foothills of California here and into Southern California. These areas are starved for moisture, and we could be seeing higher elevation snow for the Sierras, and then here across the lower elevation some rain. It's not going to be flooding rains or anything like that, but just enough to just dampen the ground out there. That'll continue into Sunday and really through the rest of this month. There will be a chance of some rain there in Southern California and around the Los Angeles area, San Diego, and then some areas further east too, into the Phoenix, Flagstaff area, and then over here toward Albuquerque. So a lot of areas in the desert Southwest, very dry. I get, again, it's a desert, it's dry, but we're definitely seeing some moisture out there, and that's some great news. And that goes through the rest of this month. And again, it's not going to be the heaviest moisture we've ever seen, but it will be moisture, and that's definitely helpful for the wildfire concerns in central Southern California. Some of these areas, isolated spots over an inch of rain, that definitely could be very beneficial for these areas. And then in the higher elevations, in the Sierras especially, we're going to be seeing some snow, and that could be piling up to around a foot of snow in some spots, especially the southern Sierras, as we go through the February 1st timeframe. So definitely seeing a lot more moisture out here. Very, very helpful and beneficial news, to say the least. Let's look here at our weather pattern heading into next week across the entirety of the lower 48. Very interesting. Let's look first at the European model and showing what it depicts as we go into next Monday. Got a clipper system up here in portions of the upper Great Lakes, again into Ontario. That seems to be the main track over the past few days, and really that will continue into next week. And then as we go into Tuesday, you can see that lake effect snow and more of the clipper systems moving from Canada into the northeast and into parts of the northern Ohio Valley there. But as we go into Wednesday, look at the feature down here across the Red River Valley, southern plains, snow in the mountains of Colorado and New Mexico, maybe a little bit of snow for the Texas-Oklahoma panhandle, but we have rain from Oklahoma south into North Texas there. This is Wednesday, the 29th of January. As we go into Thursday, notice that moves out across the plains. May have to watch for some stronger thunderstorm activity, especially if we can get instability to build from Arkansas south to East Texas and into Louisiana. We got some snow potentially moving in, according to the European model, from Colorado into Nebraska, into western Kansas. And then as we go in towards next weekend, that could bring a winter storm potentially to the Midwest and the Great Lakes here. A lot of the finer details are still to be hashed out, but let's look here at the GFS model and see if it's similar. This is the 18Z GFS. As we go into Monday, we got the Clipper system, so that is in agreement with the European. That is in agreement as well on Tuesday. The Clipper system moving down across the northern Ohio Valley and into the northeast. So that is of high confidence into early next week. And then looking at Wednesday, here we go. We got that feature down here, maybe a bit further south than the European model, but you get the idea of rain returning to Texas here in the southern U.S., some mountainous snow in New Mexico there. And then as we go into Thursday, very heavy snows for the mountains in New Mexico and even the Texas Panhandle. Heavier rains near the Gulf Coast stretching east towards northwest Florida on the GFS model. And notice the GFS is a lot slower of a solution in ejecting that trough into the middle of the country versus the Euro that kind of just ejects it across as we go into the weekend here itself. But nonetheless, it does show winter storm risks across the Central Plains, up into the Midwest and Great Lakes on both models, the Euro and the GFS. So something to keep an eye on here as we go in towards the next week and the following weekend. Now let's look at the pattern as we go into the first few days of February, because we're going to be seeing a little bit of a change here. You know, we've had all that cold air moving south toward the Gulf Coast. We saw that, and we saw how historic our winter storm was because of that cold, dry air pushing that storm track further south. Well, now the storm track's going to shift further north because we got a ridge of high pressure building here across the south and the southeast, which will bring milder temperatures, and then the colder temperatures pushing them further north. And you can see that here on the maps. In the greens and the deeper blues, the colder air that is all the way down to the Gulf Coast probably won't reach the Gulf Coast in early February, but it could take a run at the central and southern plains and maybe towards portions of the Tennessee Valley if it goes further east enough. But I think the coldest of the air will be largely in southwest Canada and the northwest U.S., possibly even the northern plains as we go into the first week of February. But let's look here at the precipitation anomalies, because this has the signs of a stormy pattern. We have a very moisture-laden system here that could be moving in sometime between February 1st and around February 8th, somewhere in that 7-day window, and we definitely could be seeing the potential of some heavy rain and severe weather on the warm side, and then a cold side, obviously the snow, sleet, and freezing rain on the wintry side. So let's look at the European model first as we go into February 1st. That gets rid of our first system here. That's something we'll watch as we go towards next weekend, but then kind of watch the trends here. We have a parade of systems that will be translating from the Pacific Northwest across the Rockies and then into the northern U.S. Plenty of cold air to tap into. We just showed you the maps there, and look at the third, the fourth has a winter storm risk here on the European model. We go over to the GFS model. Let's look at that. You got the winter storm potential next weekend, good. And then beyond that, again, a parade of systems coming in. This could be a pretty potent wave as we go into the third, fourth time frame. And notice it brings some heavy snow risks up into the Twin Cities, for example, Des Moines, Omaha, maybe Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay, La Crosse. A lot of these areas that haven't seen a lot of snow, the GFS does bring that into the first week there of February, and then more of a stronger thunderstorm risk and more heavy rain risk on the warmer side further to the south. Again, this is still several days out. The details will change. The track of the storm will change. The snowfall areas will change, but giving you the general idea here is that it's going to be a very active late January into early February, and we need to be ready for the potential of severe weather, even though we're still going into February, but severe weather can happen any one of the 12 months out of the year, and we're going to give you all the latest information on the wintry weather as well, with snow, sleet, and freezing rain on the cold side as we go into early February. So a lot to track here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow along with all my detailed, accurate weather breakdowns. We'll have another video out late tomorrow morning, early tomorrow afternoon, so make sure you got the post notifications turned on for that. Like the video here this evening. If you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs up. Also, leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those after the video. Share this video with friends, family, and on social media, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Thursday out there.